Why Obama Will Win in 2008 and 2012. This book examines financial cycles and political trends in the United States. It is inspired by my belief that America, with its open society and creative destruction of political affairs, has enormous untapped potential. This potential goes far beyond the as-yet unwritten headlines of 2008. As such, this book is about much more than that year's election results. America has always been the land of plenty and the land of possibilities. Its founding fathers were sworn to prosperity and democracy as they understood it. Their legacy is a system that allows itself to be reinvented and to keep up with modern times. I have written this book to help those who would move this country towards a more perfect union. In a few decades, an American astronaut will be the first human to visit another planet, and billions of people around the world will marvel at yet another spectacular achievement of American industry and technology. This nation will also lead by example in 21st century earthly matters as it reinvigorates its own democracy. A certain charismatic personality, seen once every 40 to 75 years, will lead the way as old assumptions fall by the wayside. On July 2, 1960, a few weeks before that year's Democratic National Convention, former President Harry Truman, widely remembered today smiling in his Dewey defeats Truman photo op, publicly stated that John F. Kennedy, age 43, was too young and inexperienced to be President of the United States. Indignant, the President-to-be gave this response: "This is a young country, founded by young men, and still young in heart. The world is changing. The old ways will not do. It is time for a new generation of leadership to cope with new problems and new opportunities. I am a technical analyst of financial markets and a fund manager. My day job is to forecast changes in trend before they are discounted. I have attempted to do the same in this book." This book should be understood in the context of the social sciences. It is not an attempt to forecast events in any mechanical or deterministic way. It is a description of the past as much as it is my hope for the future. Chapter 1 is mostly commentary on market cycles, bubbles and timing techniques that may appear to be out of place in a book about politics. What is a Gaussian chart doing in a book about elections? Common sense might dictate that there is no connection. Perhaps crude oil futures are more relevant. But common sense might also assume, and Chapter 2 will show, that economic data figure prominently in election outcomes. This is due not to voter familiarity with inflation or unemployment numbers. Rather, the numbers reflect a fluid portion of voters' sense of well-being. Marcus Aurelius said that victory lies in the organization of the non-obvious. If financial cycles can be forecast, so too can social mood and electoral realignments. Of course, nothing is guaranteed. An electoral realignment is a total makeover of America's political house. We had such makeovers in 1828, 1860 and 1932. Today, millions of Americans are demanding change to our political system. A change that transforms the revolving door, business as usual duopoly we know so well. Since multiple-party democracy is not yet a reality in this country, Americans pin their hopes on powerful personalities within the duopoly, especially a certain unlikely individual from Hawaii. Chapters 1 and 2 are not self-contained and assume a high degree of ease with financial concepts, economics and charts. Incidentally, shortly after Chapter 2 was finished, the International Monetary Fund cut its forecasts for U.S. economic growth this year 2007, and next to just 1.9%. Very bad news indeed for incumbent Republicans. If the reader is not interested in the minutiae of why this is so and dislikes statistics, curves and graphs, I would suggest skimming Chapters 1 and 2 and accepting on faith that the Republican Party will probably lose the White House in 2008. Note that opinion poll data do not figure in these chapters. A later edition of this book may include my recession timetable, which forecasts a recession in 2008 to 2009. I hope I'm wrong, but if not, this country will be in need of especially strong leadership during this period. Chapter 3 is a brief review of American economic and political history since colonial times. Chapters 4, 5 and 6 are essays on power. Chapter 7, the military power, shows the decennia war cycle. Chapter 8 comprises my thoughts on fighting terrorism. While nothing in politics is inevitable, Chapter 9, Rational Exuberance, expresses my belief that after 20 years of Bush and Clinton leadership, an electoral realignment in 2008, 2012 and 2016, led by a charismatic, Barack Obama, is at hand. Cyrus needed to find the Persians rebellious against the empire of the Medes and the Medes grown soft and effeminate through the long years of peace. Theseus could not have demonstrated his prowess had he not found the Athenians dispersed. Obama had to have been born of a racially forbidden and illegal union and raised in exile from the mainland United States in order to unite Americans of all races and bring wisdom and understanding to international relations as commander-in-chief. Before the hurricane struck, America's CEO had appointed an incompetent friendly to run the Federal Emergency Management Agency FEMA. On September 12, 2005, he lauded him for doing a heck of a job, even though the storm's toll was over 1,800 dead and $81.2 billion in damages. Historians will look back on the disaster as a contributing factor to the electoral realignment that carried Barack Obama all the way to the White House. The conditioned power of nonconformists increases during times of uncertainty and pain. Expanding credit has created wealth and consumption offsetting the erosion of middle-class wages and benefits. If the supreme panic of August 2007 is the opening salvo of recession or worse over the coming years, politics as usual in Washington is done. As Barack Obama put it, I may not have spent much time in Washington, but I've been in Washington long enough to know that Washington must change. Looking ahead to 2012, what are Obama's prospects for a second term? The growth rate is significant. There is still time for the housing recession to worsen in 2008 and 2009 before bottoming out in 2010. A rebound in 2011 would be a good setup for the growth rate and good news variables during the first 3 quarters of 2012 to favor the incumbent. Inflation could be a real problem. Costs are rising sharply while the economy slows. This is called stagflation and was the backdrop to Jimmy Carter's defeat in 1980. The inflation variable could hurt Obama in 2012 just as it favors him in 2008. The president-running variable is one since Obama will be running for re-election. This gives him a 4.0% leg up. Duration is 0 since the Democrats will have served only one term, so there is no duration penalty. The party variable is 1 because of the voter tendency to favor Republicans. Regardless of whether American forces are still in combat in 2012, the war variable will be assigned a 0 because it is not assumed that voters will disregard the other variables as they did in 1920, 1944 and 1948. Overall, the odds are good that Obama will win in 2012. The electorate is anxious for political currency with purchasing power. This macro-political change will sweep Barack Obama into the White House. The level of public interest in and attention to the market changes significantly over time, just as the public's interest jumps from one newsworthy topic to another. Attention shifts from news stories about Jacqueline Kennedy to stories about Princess Diana to stories about Martha Stewart. Interest in the stock market goes through fads in just the same way, depending on the story quality of the precipitating event. So it is in the political marketplace. Years of government mismanagement have brought back the fad of community activism. More and more people want to get in on the Obama IPO. In 2007, the dawn of the seventh party system is upon us. The 2006 congressional elections herald electoral realignment in the 2008, 2012 and 2016 presidential elections. American democracy will be reborn and Barack Obama is its midwife. The paradox of fewer options in politics along with runaway advertising expenses as a barrier to political life is the issue of our day. Voter participation has fallen, a trend that must be reversed. The Obama campaign is well suited to be the agent of this reversal and has already begun. One can, however, point to reasons why a certain personality rose to prominence or will rise to prominence, such as Obama. Of course, it is more difficult to predict what will happen than to explain what has gone on before. Generalizations can be made to work for past events but shed less light on the future. Because the past is never repeated but the future often rhymes with it, imaginative thinking is essential to good forecasting. There's nothing inevitable about the course of events, Obama's presidency or the careers of politicians in general. But as America hurdles toward a political inflection point in 2008 and 2012, no candidate is more charismatic, more qualified and more likely to lead the country into the future than Barack Obama. Political campaigns and social movements fit this description. They form PACs, political action committees, and hire professionals, lobbyists to influence decision-makers. Large sums of money are required. For reasons we will see, politicians need ever larger sums of cash to stay in power. This trend is antithetical to democracy, and Obama will halt and reverse it, strengthening Americans' confidence in their political system. When they've come to so dominate the debate that ordinary citizens' interests and viewpoints and concerns are drowned out, then I think we've got a problem, Obama said. This campaign is going to come down to whether you believe that it's enough just to get somebody other than George Bush in the White House to fix what ails Washington, or do you think we need to set a fundamentally new course? I think that if you don't think lobbyists have too much influence in Washington, then I believe you've probably been in Washington too long, said Obama. According to the Associated Press on July 1, 2007, the Obama 08 campaign raised $32.5 million. This is $5 million more than what Senator Clinton, Obama's main rival, has raised. Senator Obama is quoted as saying, "Together we have built the largest grassroots campaign in history for this stage of a presidential race." That's the kind of movement that can change the special interest-driven politics in Washington and transform our country. It's just a beginning. Senator Obama was referring to his 258,000 donors in the first 6 months of the year, an extraordinary figure. The AP article goes on to say, for Obama, vaulting ahead of Clinton in the money race is an important achievement. Despite broad public interest in Obama's candidacy, he trails the New York senator and former First Lady in national polls. Polls showed the contest to be closer in some key early states, and Obama is leading South Carolina. At an Obama fundraising party I attended some weeks ago, I had a sympathetic individual come up to me and ask why so much emphasis on money. Why is it so important that Obama raise money? He asked. This campaign is supposed to be about the people, and we're trying to get away from special interest money. In 2008 the Democratic Party has the opportunity to reinvent itself by maintaining the discipline required to be progressive in deed, not only in debate. Obama has this discipline and will go down in history as the man who saved the Democratic Party. Senator Obama officially announced his campaign for the presidency in January 2007. In March 2004, Illinois State Senator Barack Obama won the U.S. Senate Democratic primaries. The New York Times reported, in the primary, a wide and wealthy field of candidates, 7 Democrats and 8 Republicans, nearly half of them millionaires, made for an expensive and messy race. In recent days, they poured their money into dueling political commercials that swamped Chicago's television market, and leaflets that jammed mailboxes. It was at this juncture that Senator Obama looked within, did his own assessment of the situation, and fell back upon the lessons of organizational power. He had a long history as a community organizer in the 1980s and had gained the best education ever. He was instrumental in Chicago voter registration drives which delivered 100,000 newly registered voters to the Democratic Party in 1992.
Daniel Bruno Sands is a chartered market technician, fund manager and investment advisor. Disclaimer: the data presented in this book is subjective and open to interpretation. The author's conclusions may be controversial. Please go to www.hpub.org/Why Obama Will Win in 2012 by Daniel Bruno.